We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News New York. So it is Super Bowl Sunday. I got another Super Bowl question, another football question. So Assemblyman Michael Benedetto has introduced a bill that would prevent 12-year-olds from playing tackle football to protect their health and their still developing brains. How do you feel about that?
Well, I haven't seen the bill, and I always look at the language before, accepting any co-sponsoring or supporting. The bottom line is I understand the premise, and it's a good premise, the health and safety of a 12-year-old or certainly one younger. But is that the way to do it? By banning it? Totally. Is there other things that we can do, other rule changes that we can incorporate to make it safer, yet still not lose the sport itself? I still think there's an activity, there's a socialization, there's a health aspect of getting out there and playing. So I'd like to see the sport continue for a person or an individual 12 years or younger, but maybe there's some other rule changes we can make to make it safer.
Do you think the government has a responsibility to protect kids?
I do. But we have a line that we go up to, and when we reach that line, that's when we start to incorporate the parents, the schools, the community to work with us. It shouldn't be just us at some point. So
we have to switch topics now to something near and dear to your heart and to very many people in New York. 3 new downstate casino licenses are supposed to be awarded this year, and it's very important because some of the money is actually going to go to the MTA, according to the governor, if that deal goes through. Yes. I mean, that's a proposal. Yes. So it's a very important thing to consider where they go and how much money they make, because a portion of the profits is going to also go to the MTA. So, having said that, there's an awful lot of people who are trying to get a casino in Manhattan, and there's a lot of proposals. Sure. One on the east side, near the UN, they want to build a Ferris wheel. Mm-hmm. There's one on the west side near Hudson Yards. There's a bunch of people who want to go to Times Square. And God knows what else we're going to hear. What's the over-under, so to speak, on a Manhattan casino?
Not a betting man myself, but the casinos are going to happen. The 3 downstate licenses, they're going to happen. The question is where. And it depends on how many people how many entities actually submit an application. And we can't determine if the one in Manhattan or the one in Queens or the one in Brooklyn are going to be. We need to look at all of them to see which one is best for the city and the state going forward, again, 15, 20, 30 years from now. And so that kind of evaluation will be done by the Gaming Commission and the Siting Board, and I think they are a credible entity. They've done great work with mobile sports betting, the Gaming Commission. So I have full faith that they'll do an expedited, transparent, credible process, and in the end, the people benefit. Whether you like gaming or not, the billions of dollars that'll be generated for education and the thousands of jobs, construction and post-construction, in building these casinos, that's something that we should witness really as soon as possible.
So I know that there is the proposal to build the stadium in Queens also includes a complex that would include affordable housing and a casino, possibly. So how do you feel about a casino in Queens, or is that just going to be in the mix of all the other?
It's to be evaluated along with the others. Again, we don't want to cannibalize anybody, but we want, again, if Queens is the other site for a second casino, that's the idea. Does it have that kind of viability and fiscal responsibility that the state could utilize for its people? I can't wait for the evaluation process to be done by the Gaming Commission.
So part of the, there are 3 licenses, but the people seem to think that 2 of the licenses will go to already running racinos, one at Aqueduct and one at Empire in Yonkers. Do you think that's a reality, or it still has to be evaluated?
It has to be evaluated. I have results. Well, it was in my district. It's just outside my district. My people get employed there, my constituents. But there's a process that we set up statutorily, a very fair and open process, and I think that has to be, adhered to. That being said, we want it to be done in an expeditious manner. We don't want to wait years and years and years to realize the jobs and the educational funding. And you brought up the MTA money. That is a proposal by the governor. I think we have to be very cautious with that, because precedent has said, and traditionally, gaming money goes to education. It goes to education. Casinos and gaming industry has given $3 billion a year to education every year. I cannot go back to my constituency and say, hey, we reduced education money for the MTA. Right now, at this point, that's not.
So you think they should find another way to help the MTA not taking the casino money?
I think there is new ways. If you're looking for new revenue for the MTA, so unspoken for money for the MTA, I have proposed iGaming, where it's a new product for New York. Their money would eclipse mobile sports betting. It's a step.
Explain that to me.
iGaming is basically everything that the casinos offer do it on a mobile device.
So you would like to have online casino gambling, basically?
Yes. Other states, see, we're losing money right now. We lose money to iGaming, to Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and the illegal market here. Probably $1 billion every year, estimated.
$1 billion a year?
Yes, for iGaming. So the problem is, even if you want to help someone with an addiction, we can't. Marshall, we don't know who they are. They're going to Jersey, they're going to Pennsylvania, Connecticut, illegally. So we can't even, forget the revenue that we lose, and that's educational dollars too, but we can't help someone with addiction because they're not on our radar. Once you regulate it in New York, now you can see somebody actually on their way to having an addiction and get them before they become addicted.
So we should point out that all the other gaming bills that we have include money for people with addiction problems.
We do have a funding stream with mobile sports spending an additional $6 million for addiction programs. And it's not so much how much money is spent, but how it is spent. I mean, these programs that we have in our state work very well.
And if you were to get this bill passed for iGaming, would you earmark some of those revenues for the MTA? Is that a possibility?
Certainly, because it's not spoken for at this point. So a portion maybe can go to education, but this is new money. This is new revenue. So if they want revenue for MTA, and it's a lot of money, but you know what I would love also, before giving the MTA money, let's do an audit on the MTA. Let's find out where and how they spend their money so that we make sure that the money we do give them is being spent correctly.
So one last thing I'd like to talk to you about, there's been this big controversy about picking a judge for the State Court of Appeals, and the Republicans just days ago filed a challenge and want the entire Senate to vote on that. I wonder how you feel about that.
It's tough for me. I really can't, because it is a pending lawsuit now, so I can't say much. But you know, this is very unique to the state, and I think our residents should be in tune. They should pay attention, because this is our criminal justice, part of our criminal justice system, and crime, and that issue of public safety and being safe is on the minds of every one of my constituents. So they should stay tuned. Well,
you brought up crime, and the governor wants to change the bail laws a little bit so that judges have the ability to consider the least restrictive. She wants to eliminate the least restrictive provision so judges could set higher bail. How do you come down on that, or you're not able to?
No, I think this is a healthy discussion. You know, how do we make our city safer? How do we do this? How do we make the state and city safer? You know, so let's have a real robust, real credible discussion. There's always improvements. You can never say we're done with public safety, in my opinion. There's always ways of making improvements, rational, credible, and improvements. And that's what budget time is for, to have these kind of discussions.
Do you think that there is a perception that the city is still not safe?
I think it's getting better. I talk to my precincts. I love my precincts in the district. There has been a turnaround under the Adams administration, but there's so much more work to do. And it's a partnership. It is city, state, it's our communities. It's a partnership. And when we all work together, great things happen. We become a safer city. So you think it's legitimate to consider this as part of the budget talks? I think so. It is. And I know there's people who don't like policy in the budget, but I think public safety goes beyond what really is policy to an extent, and there could be a fiscal to it as well. It costs the city and state some money when somebody gets incarcerated and goes through a system. Let's figure it out, because I do think there's a fiscal element there that you can use as part of a budget discussion. Senator Joseph Addabbo, thank you so much for joining me. My pleasure. Thank you for joining me as well.